Welcome back all after the lunch. Thanks Eva for the introduction. We are Billy Grace. We are here to give you a little bit of insight into what we see happening in the marketing industry, what agencies and customers use our product for. We'll share some trends that we've observed last year and also give you a sneak peek of what's to come in our product. So you'll be actually one of the first to see what is coming somewhere next year in Billy Grace. First of all, a little bit about me. I've been in marketing for, I think, around 10 years. 10 years ago, I was working on launching my first Google Ads and Meta campaigns when I was launching that for my dad's business. Entirely different time back then. Also when he was still advertising in local newspapers, billboards next to the road, etc. When I came to him like, shouldn't we advertise a little bit online and see what's happening there? So that's where it started. Few former colleagues of mine spoke already earlier today. I've seen Jeroen here as well. I was at Google for 3.5 years in Dublin, where I was lucky enough to work with hundreds of advertisers, and now at Billy Grace working with agencies like IWB, but also other ones across the Netherlands. Maybe good to get a little bit of a temperature check on who is familiar with this phenomenon, and if you relate this to marketing. I'm first of all curious to know if anyone knows what we mean by this soccer field, and then after we'll dive a little bit deeper. Who's familiar with this or knows what this means? I see some hands, maybe a little bit 50-50. This is what we call in marketing last click attribution. Who is familiar with the topic of marketing attribution at all? That should be some more hands. Okay. That's good. That's a lot of what we do and what we are solving for. So we'll dive a little deeper into how we approach this, what we've seen in the market, and also what you can use our solution for to benefit your business in the best way, basically. We've first of all done some research on what happened last year throughout the peak season. So we're roughly a month away from Black Friday, Cyber Monday. After that, we run into, in the Netherlands, Sinterklaas. There's Christmas happening as well. And we've done a little bit of research into what advertisers and agencies have been doing last year, what worked well, what didn't. And maybe you can take some inspiration from there. Some key findings that we can share up front is that we will address this as three different phases. So the first one will be the preparation phase. It's basically the phase we are now. Then there's the harvesting season where there's Cyber Monday, Black Friday, that entire peak of demand. But after that, it doesn't stop. Where many advertisers might stop, think the peak is over, we'll still have Christmas and Sinterklaas after that. So there's also a big opportunity there. And also different media dynamics, I would say, during these periods. First of all, I think the event was called after Q5, the period after Black Friday, Cyber Monday, towards the end of the year. And what really stood out to us, analyzing all of the data in our platform, is that there's two channels that really see a big lift there, different than what they saw previous to that. So what you see here on the x-axis is the time, showing the weeks, and on the y-axis you see the share of wallet. So that means how many euros are allocated to, in this case, TikTok and YouTube from your entire wallet. So let's say you're spending 100 euros each week. In week 44, both platforms then get 2 euros out of that 100. However, as you can see, the further we get along the line and the closer we get to year's end, those platforms really start to increase their share of wallet. So what you see is that people after Black Friday, they use video to re-engage with customers, drive loyalty with the customers that they acquired, or they will re-engage with the customers that were considering to buy with your brand but didn't after all. But there might still be a chance with Sinterklaas and Christmas around the corner. I think the funny thing about video here is, of course, you're really able to tell a story, right? You have all of these different channels, but I think TikTok and YouTube offer new and creative ways of telling your story there. So that is something that really stands out. And you might consider in a few weeks when December is around the corner. Might be interesting to know as well is we're looking here at share of wallet. So that means what is actually happening in the 100 euros you have each week, but the total wallet is growing as well. So towards the end of the year, the spend in, for example, YouTube is 7 times higher than it is in those early weeks, week 44, week 45. Then we have three channels we'll zoom into. I think two of which many are familiar with, Google and Meta. What you see at Google is there is an insane peak in demand. You see that during Black Friday and Cyber Monday, the spend on those channels ramps up very quickly. Your margins might be under pressure there, but that is the trade-off there is that the volumes, your daily revenues on Google might be 7 times higher during the Black Friday weekend than they are in the period leading up to Black Friday. That means you pay a little bit more, know what your margins are, but there is a tremendous opportunity to capture all of that demand that is out there. Maybe good to think about that, and I think our key takeaway here is know what your margins are, know how far you can go to really make the most of that demand that is out there. Then Meta. Meta is of course known for, I think, Facebook and Instagram, and they see a slightly different pattern, where margins are not that much under pressure throughout the entire period. But the demand is also very, very high, and it stays high until the end of the year. So in Meta, you see that the opportunity is there throughout the entire period, and that you're able to advertise also very profitably, even until the end of the year. So that makes Meta also a very interesting channel, of course. I would say those are a few of the main channels that everyone knows. I think one that is maybe sometimes overlooked might be Pinterest. And what stood out really from us about Pinterest is that where many of these channels see a big increase in demand, big increase in costs, also a big increase in orders, is that for Pinterest, while the increase in orders is there, you see it, plus 62% during the Black Friday weekend. However, you see that CPAs, or cost per action, or the ROAS are only slightly affected. So that means that you're able to get a lot of orders there, while the competition might be very much or less intense, actually. So that's an interesting channel, definitely in some verticals like home and garden, like fashion, and other verticals you can think of course. I think some takeaways from the analysis in this data is the competition is very fierce everywhere. It's in Google, in Instagram, on all of these channels, but really know where your competition is, how far you can go to outcompete them, to make sure that you get the most out of that specific channel. Then you see that different channels have different strengths. So it's not that you set at the 1st of November, you set your media mix and that will be the media mix you will use every day throughout November. Several channels have several strengths. Use that. Use tools like video or Instagram to build your audience. And then Google is really there to, for example, capture the demand. And as said, Pinterest is then a really interesting channel to look at when you want to reach incremental traffic, but not with the most intense competition that is out there. Then lastly, it doesn't really stop after Black Friday. There's TikTok and YouTube, but also other video channels that really work to tell your story to customers, re-engage with them, focus on getting those new clients in since there's still a lot of demand. You might think of people that have received gift cards for Sinterklaas, for example, or people are just shopping as gifts for Christmas or Sinterklaas during the month of December. Then actually, the question we are trying to solve for is, you have all of these channels, they have strengths, they have weaknesses maybe, there's different dynamics, how should you allocate your budget? And we'll tap a little bit in how we address it at Billy Grace. We really like to compare this to watering your plants, since there's a few similarities there to approaching marketing and also watering your plants or caring for your plants. You need to put enough budget in there to make the most of the opportunity that is there. However, you can also do it to too big of an extent, so that you water too much and the plant goes bad. You might overspend a lot in the channel, lose all of your margin, and then it's not that profitable anymore to address that. So that is what we are in the business for and trying to help you. We'll lay this out as 5 different challenges, and then build on that we have a 5-pillar-based solution, every one of which is solving for the challenge on the left-hand side. Maybe good to know of the marketeers in the room here, who is experiencing that their data is not consistent, it might be incorrect or inaccurate. Like, who is experiencing that at this moment? I see a few hands. In our view, the biggest cause of that is basically that customer journeys you're not able to track customer journeys correctly over time. And then you have channels like Google and Meta all doing a very good job, but they are not talking that much to each other. What we've built is a first-party pixel where you can really implement that, create that customer journey, and really know if a customer interacted with Google, with Meta, with Pinterest, or a combination of those three channels, so that we really can build a coherent customer journey over time. On top of that, there is a lot of our advertisers and agencies experience that there's a mismatch between what they see happening in their Shopify store or their Magento store. They have their cash register, they see money coming in, but if they then start accounting for what is Google, Meta, Google Analytics, any of those platforms telling you, it doesn't add up. We integrate with your backend so that not only your advertising data is aligned, but you have aligned that advertising data with what's actually coming into your business as well, so that the data you're looking at, you're comfortable and confident that you are actually able to action that data so that it also translates into direct business impact. Attribution models, I think everyone here in the room has experience with different attribution models. You might look at clicks, at views, a mix of that, do media mix modeling, but ultimately there will always be a mix of solutions out there. We provide 3 different models in our solution, one of which is last click. I wouldn't really recommend you to use that. And then we have multi-touch attribution, taking into account all of the clicks that happen during that customer journey, and a model we call unified marketing measurement, where we can also account for clicks, but also views, so that we can really compare a channel like Instagram to a channel like Bing or Google, where the dynamics on that channel are very, very different. On top of that, we've built one analytics suite so that you don't have to switch between Shopify, between Google Analytics, between all of the different ad managers. You can just open one tab where you can see all of your data, both from an advertising side, but also from an e-commerce side of the side. So, for example, there will be product data in there, data on your customers, all within one system, and all providing the data you will need in the end. Lastly, I would say really the cherry on top of our solution is what we call the AI Autopilot. This is basically your support system to really guide your budget allocation decisions. So based on AI, it will learn where is the marginal opportunity the biggest, so that it can guide you and maximize your returns on your marketing investments. We can show you a little bit of how that works. You set a goal, a marketing objective that might be driving revenue, it might be driving traffic to your website, it might be leading to a lot of add to carts. You select which campaigns contribute to that specific marketing objective, and you set a budget that you're willing to spend on those campaigns. What our system then will do is start looking at, marginally speaking, where is the highest return, where is the budget allocated in the best way possible, so that we get you the highest revenue, the most traffic to your website, or whatever objective you've selected. On top of that, and that you see on the right-hand side, you can add in rules. So you might say, I have €1,000 a day available, but if my return, my ROAS is higher than 10, I would like to spend €1,200, or you can at least increase the budget in increments of, for example, 20% based on certain rulings. You can include weather there, can be performance metrics, it can be really a wide variety of things. This is really where we see that marketing is going, where you are supported by AI to drive the decisions you're making and also help you analyze all of the data that's coming at you from all of these different systems, which might be hard to take into account, but that AI is really there to help you. Our key message there is also, definitely during periods of high demand, there might be outliers. Always keep that AI next to you and do not let it run on itself. You are there to control it, steer it, and it's really the combination of AI working together with you when you will have the biggest results. IWB actually has been working with Billy Grace for a while already, and we have an example of a customer that started already almost 2 years ago. It's called Vinkostrat NL. Is there anyone from Vinkostrat? Good to know. We will tell you a little bit of what the steps were that were taken and also the results that Vinkostrat has seen, so that you have a bit of feeling about what you can do with Billy Grace. First of all, I think when you introduce our model, it will be a new data source. It will be new data. You have the data already in Google or Meta or Shopify. Then there's the new data source in us. So I think the first period is really about introducing that attribution, getting to know all the models. The data will be different, but it is supposed to be. So you will see different ROAS numbers, different order numbers being attributed to different campaigns and channels. Really get to know what the differences are and get a feeling of why those numbers are different. So I think that is always one of the critical first steps. Then on top of that, that might lead to different views on what's working, what's not working. So you can start to cut budgets where it's not working and reallocate that to places where it might work. You might have tested with campaigns or channels in the past that didn't really work for you then, but most of our customers feel like, oh, I can use a channel like Facebook or TikTok, again, retest it, see if it works. And that is in this case what Vinkostrat has done as well, where they were able to scale up channels like TikTok and also Snapchat and really seeing the impact across the board there. Then on top of that, you could use the automations. I think that is also an important part, really get yourself to know what is happening in these models, try to understand the differences, and then the automations are there to support you. And then they can help you get a new or different view, optimize and iterate on your decisions, but make sure that you get also what the numbers are telling you yourself, rather than just fully leaning on what the automations are telling you. Lastly, if you have automated a few things, you might free up time. I think a really nice example in this case is that IWB was able to, in the time they used to spend on 5 different social channels, with the use of these automations, they now manage all 5 in the time that they used to allocate to only one channel. That frees up a lot of time that you can put into creative testing, thinking about acquiring new customers, thinking about your product catalog, all of these different strategic topics that drive probably more impact than just managing the bids and budgets every day. So a few of the numbers assigned to this story are, they spent 80% less time on managing manual bids and budgets. We saw a decrease of 18% in the CPA. And you see 2 ROAS numbers, and I'll explain the difference between both of them. The first number says 44%, and that is really the difference between the multi-touch attribution model and the unified marketing measurement model. What that does is really that we are able to attribute 44% more revenue to the spend that has happened, mainly in those channels that are view and impression based. And then lastly, across the board, so that is just a general ROAS, 12% higher return year over year. So that is basically a result of allocating budgets to different places and really being more efficient where your budget is spent. To sum that all up, what we then do is we give you insights into the full funnel. So you're able to attribute value to channels like TikTok, YouTube, and Meta, where you in the past might have not been able to do that, and really now get why running a campaign on these channels works for driving your revenue. We will unify all your data and reporting in one place so that you don't have to switch tabs between all of those different dashboards, tabs, analytics softwares. You just have one data source, which also tells you just one thing, so that your CFO is looking at the same numbers as you are, and you're not having a discussion on why certain numbers are different, but what can we learn from these numbers and how do we get to the next step. And then lastly, there's the AI optimizations, which can help you save time, but I would say mostly help you get your business to the next level. We're getting slowly towards the end of the presentation, and we'll give you a glimpse of what will be happening in the future. Of course, we're using AI already throughout our product. However, I think many of you are now experienced in prompting in different systems, and that is also something that we will be introducing in our platform. So there will be an AI agentic solution called Quinn. For the ones that haven't seen it, this is what our platform looks like. However, the bar in the bottom that now pops up and where the text is showing, that is not currently there. That is something that we will introduce and will enable you really to extend your team with a data scientist that is always there, helping you analyze which campaigns are performing, which ones aren't, how should you allocate budget. Always have that companion there to really think about your next step. How do you get the most of the budget you have? What can you do? Are certain numbers explainable, yes or no? And this is really what ultimately, in our view, will help you guide your marketing to the next level. I think one specific thing here is that we have data available across all of your advertising, but also all of your e-commerce. So that really bundling that data together will help you guide and make the best decisions on your entire marketing and advertising activities. Some key takeaways, I would say across the board, attribution is key in driving efficient marketing. If you're not in the know of what channels work, what channels don't work, it will be very hard to make calculated decisions. Your media mix, you can think about it yourself, but please let AI help you, since it can analyze so much more data than you can on yourself. AI speeds up things, it can get you a different view on the data, and really use it as your companion there. And adopt the experimenting mindset. As mentioned throughout the beginning of the presentation, you have all of these different channels with the different strengths. Use them to your advantage. Every period is different, and test and learn what works and what doesn't. And by adopting that mindset, you will get yourself to the next level every time. Then lastly, yesterday we released the playbook on the peak season and Q5 as well. You can download it through the QR code, and that is an extension of what I told you in the beginning. What certain channels are doing, what trends do we see, and also tips from our customer success team on how you really leverage Billy Grace during the times of peak demand. Feel free to download it, use it, read it. You might already use Billy Grace, or it might be an inspiration to start using Billy Grace in the future.
All right, Steven. I'm really looking forward to Quinn.
Me too.
In what period would it be like available? Have you got any idea whether it's a year or a couple months?
I would say quicker than a year. There are the first customers testing it with it currently. Not sure whether we can fully pick a date yet, but expect it anytime soon in the new year.
Great, great. Any questions from the audience on this new adaptation or this whole platform? Yeah?
How do you guys work with attribution of like influencer marketing, marketing deals, like other sort of paid channels that are not related to it?
Yeah. Very good question. Maybe to repeat, the question was on channels like influencer marketing, barter deals, but really other channels also. I think a unique thing is we integrate directly with many different media channels. On top of that, we can include also offline media, for example. So you're able to include TV, radio, digital, out-of-home results in there so that you can really start attributing revenue to that as well. We're definitely discovering what's possible in that region specifically. I think one of the key things is there we should always be able to connect a certain customer journey, in this case, for example, an influencer touch point to a sale eventually happening on the website. So that will always be the key, that we have the right data available. It is definitely something we are exploring. Not currently available, I would say, but yeah, we can definitely have a discussion on maybe ideas you have and how we can tackle that in the future.
Great, thank you. Any more questions so far? I think you had a very clear story then. Steven,
so.
I would like to thank you, and I would continue with our next speaker.
Thank you.
Thanks.